For 2 decades, waves of violence have crashed down upon these shores. Tens of thousands have died in fighting between the majority Sinhalese and the Tamils, who want their own homeland. And then last year, a freak of nature cut yet another swathe through the country. This train was lifted from its tracks by the Boxing Day tsunami. Like Sri Lanka, it's derailed, mangled, and its survivors are deeply traumatized. It's going to take Sri Lanka years to recover from the devastation wrought by the tsunami, but in the months since the giant waves struck, a bit of blame game has been underway on this divided island nation. Aid agencies accuse the central government of allowing the relief operation to become bogged down in a sea of red tape and corruption. But the woman who says she's taken personal charge of the recovery effort dismisses these claims as rubbish. President Chandrika Kumaratunga has survived an assassination attempt, she's fought a civil war, and now she's making it plain she's not about to let a tsunami get in her way. So, who is this woman some of her compatriots refer to as Sri Lanka's Eva Peron? Kumaratunga was born into politics, another testament to Asia's dynastic urges. Her father, SWRD Bandaranaike, was Prime Minister. Her mother was the world's first woman Prime Minister, and her brother is a parliamentarian with leadership ambitions of his own. Politics is the family trade.
I'm a workaholic. I like to work. And I'm in this not to fill my pockets like lots of others, or because the idea of power thrills me. I find it a joke.
A joke?
Yes. I find power a joke. I laugh, or I get very angry with it.
Now you are a very rare politician indeed, then, that you don't
I must be.
Find power
I find
alluring,
it a joke.
Attractive.
No, I don't like it at all. The only thing that attracts me in power is that it gives me the authority and the possibility of doing what I think should be done for this country.
Singaraja Saraswati has lost everything. She's a shopkeeper from the northeast of the country where the tsunami exacted its biggest toll. Six months on, in the largely Tamil city of Batticaloa, the recovery effort is proving painfully slow. The city's foreshore remains a wasteland, a harrowing reminder to Singaraja and thousands of others like her of the day the waters washed away their lives.
எனக்கு 2 புள்ளைகள் என் மகள் உண்டு. அவ இந்த சுனாமியில் செத்து போயிட்டாவு. அதில் 2 பேர பிள்ளைகள். அதில் ஒன்றுக்கு 3 வயது. என் வீடு இழந்துட்டுது. 2 மால்ற வீடும் போயிட்டுது. என் வீடும் போயிட்டுது. நான் இப்போ மில்லுக்குள்ளே இருக்கிறேன். நான் என் சொத்து சோம் எல்லாமே போயிட்டுது. என்னோட ஒரு சோட்டியோட தான் நான் அந்த இதில் போனேன். நான் போய் ஆஸ்பத்திரியில் இருந்து என் பிள்ளைகளை எடுத்து அடக்கம் செய்து போட்டு திருப்பி வந்து மில்லுக்குள்ளே இருக்கிறேன். இப்போ எனக்கு சரியான கவலையோடு இருக்கிறேன் என் பிள்ளைகளை நினைச்சு.
Batticaloa has been overrun by aid agencies from around the world. But coordination and order are in desperately short supply. For this, Singaraja blames the president.
இல்ல சந்திரிக்கா ஜனாதிபதி அவர்கள் ஒன்றுமே எங்களுக்கு செய்து தரல. தாரன்னு தான் சொல்லி கொண்டு இருக்கிறாங்க ஒழிசி எங்களுக்கு ஒன்றுமே தரல. இந்த 6 மாசம் எங்களுக்கு இந்த 5000 ரூபாய் தாரன்னு சொன்னது ஜனாதிபதி அம்மா இத்த வரைக்கும் 2 மாசம் தான் தந்துருக்கிறாங்க. அந்த 4 மாத்திய காசை இன்னமும் தரல. தாரண்டே மாற்றி கொண்டு தான் இருக்கிறாங்க. தரையே இல்லை.
Not far from Batticaloa's battered shoreline lives a teacher who's witnessed most of this country's suffering.
But he's a man of deep intelligence and profound love for the church.
Catholic priest Harry Miller has been here since independence in 1948. A straight-talking 80-year-old from New Orleans with an intellect honed by the Jesuits, Father Harry's strong views have won him great respect, as well as a few enemies.
She can say the most outrageous things. And so we don't really know who is the real Chandrika. And we're all afraid of what she could be if she became the whole show as well as the dog under the wagon.
Father Harry warns the millions given by Australia and other donor nations are being badly spent.
It's not being well spent. I think that the problem is the lack of efficiency, getting it down to the people who have lost. This is paralyzing the ability of people even to get back to their homes, and they're languishing in the camps. And it has not been intelligently handled, no.
No, that's not true. And we have been promised more aid than we expected.
But it's the delivery of that aid that's the problem, isn't it? We've travelled around the country a bit, and certainly what a lot of people are saying is that it's the NGOs which are delivering the aid.
Did you actually speak to the people or the NGOs?
Both.
That's a canard that is spread by the NGOs. All the aid that was given to the people were given by the government.
But are you satisfied with the performance of your government in distributing aid?
Can I tell you, I'm very satisfied.
Can you categorically say, though, that there is no corruption in your government when it comes to handling tsunami funds? Because I think you said last year in an interview with Time magazine that corruption is rampant in the country.
Corruption is rampant, but everybody rose up to a man and a woman during tsunami. And they were not in a mood to rob.
It was hoped that the biggest natural disaster to strike the country would help galvanise it in the task of solving its biggest man-made disaster, the nation's long-running civil war. But post-tsunami goodwill has quickly faded. 70,000 people have died in the war over Tamil demands for a separate homeland. A ceasefire has been in place since 2002, and a joint mechanism has just been signed to coordinate the tsunami relief effort. But the central government and the Tamil Tigers haven't held peace talks for 2 years now. Are you worried that the war could start again?
I am a little bit more than worried. I feel that may be the only way for going forward now, because neither side is capable of talking to the others. And what's left? Meanwhile, you look around, you'll find that the government is securing its own firm positions, digging new bunkers, renewing all along the roads the sandbags which had sort of collapsed and fallen are being replaced. New, bright, green sandbags are being put up around the checkpoints in the government-controlled areas. And recruitment has been going on apace among the Tamil people by the LTTE.
This lagoon separates Batticaloa from the regional headquarters of the Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam, the LTTE. We board a ferry for a crossing that takes us to what is effectively another country. The terms of the ceasefire give the Tigers formal control of parts of the north. Here, the Tigers fly their own flag, have their own government, and their own army.
ஏற்படுவதற்கான ஏது நிலைகளில் தான் ஸ்ரீலங்கா அரசாங்கம் படையினரும் படை புலனாய்வுத்துறையினரும் மேற்கொண்டு வருகின்றார்கள். உதாரணமாக எங்களுடைய அந்த அளவுக்கு எங்கள் மீது போரை திணிக்கின்ற முயற்சியை தான் ஸ்ரீலங்கா அரசாங்கம் மேற்கொள்கின்றது. ஆனால் நாங்கள் போரை விரும்புகின்ற அல்லது போர்தானங்களுக்கு விருப்பமான ஒரு தொழிலாக யாருமே கருதிடக்கூடாது. நாங்கள் சமாதானத்தை விரும்புவர்கள். எங்களுடைய உரிமையை யார் தந்தாலும் நாங்கள் பெற்றுக்கொண்டு நாங்கள் சமாதானத்தோடு வாழ விரும்புகின்ற ஓரினம். நாங்கள் போருக்கு எப்போதும் தயாரல்ல. ஆனால் எங்கள் மீது போர் திணிக்கப்பட்டால் அந்த போரை எதிர்கொள்வதற்கு நாங்கள் தயாராகவே உள்ளோம்.
How close is this country to going down the path of war once again, of civil war?
Not very close, I would say. Because the ceasefire with all its problems has lasted over 3 years now. 3 years and 3 months. There have been violations of the ceasefire by the LTT, the Tamil terrorist group.
Of course, they claim, along the lines of the old adage, that they're freedom fighters, that they've been oppressed by the Sinhalese.
Well, they have been oppressed for some time. I have been the first Sinhala leader to pronounce on election platforms, which is normally considered fatal politically, that the Tamil people have been discriminated against, that we have to correct the situation, that we have to share power with them, etc. And I still say it. And I'm deeply convinced about it.
But Kumaratunga's concessions haven't stopped the bloodshed. Death is always close at hand in divided Sri Lanka. In the capital, Colombo, the chief of army intelligence is laid to rest with full military honours. Gunned down in broad daylight, Brigadier Nizam Muttalith's death has been blamed on the Tigers. He's just one of the latest casualties of Sri Lanka's dirty war. It's a conflict that has caused ordinary citizens to despair for their leaders.
Every soldier is getting killed. We are losing a soldier, son of the soil. If these people can't understand that, I don't think they should be in the parliament, or they should just go and do some business outside. Everybody should be patriotic towards the country, not patriotic towards their pocket. And today his wife is there, his 2 children, who's going to take care of them?
Kumaratunga herself is no stranger to the entrenched violence of Sri Lankan politics. Her father was assassinated in 1959, and in 1988 she lost the love of her life.
When I heard the shots, I went running out and saw him lying on the ground, and this assassin pumping bullets into his head. He was dead by then.
Her husband, a matinee idol turned politician, was shot by a left-wing extremist.
In fact, my daughter was holding his hand when he got shot. So it was a terrible experience. I ran away. Soon after this, I just picked up the children and ran away to London and didn't come back for 3 years.
Were you afraid as well?
I was for a little time because of the shock and the trauma, and I wasn't given time to get over it. Politicians in Sri Lanka are terribly, terribly selfish. They don't give a damn what happens to you, sorry for the word. And they push you into whatever they want, whatever they think is best for them. And they didn't even allow me time to mourn. They pushed me, screaming and kicking against it, into a campaign, to do a campaign for the party.
The killings have condemned the president to live within a shell of tight security. Trips outside her heavily fortified palace, like this one to the ancient town of Polonnaruwa, are very rare. Hanging over these celebrations at this prize giving at a local school is a pall of tension and fear. There's a sense that anything could happen at any time, that one lone gunman could once again alter the course of Sri Lankan history. It was at an event like this one that Kumaratunga had her own brush with death. In 1999, the Tamil Tigers sent a suicide bomber to kill her. The bomber, a young woman, and 26 other people perished. But miraculously, Kumaratunga survived, though the explosion cost her an eye. Shortly after this attempt on her life, she appeared on national television and vowed to carry on with the peace process.
There is not one doubt in my mind that this victory with which the gods have seen fit to honor me is a victory not only for myself, not only for my 2 children whose mother has been spared, but a resounding victory for our entire nation.
At that point, did you seriously consider getting out of politics?
Yes. But I wanted to finish the one unfinished thing I came to do. The other things I thought I had finished.
How did you shut out the trauma, though? I mean, you came within an inch of losing your life.
I don't know.
How did you go on?
There was something in me that made me do it. I went on because this was one thing that fired me. I had to do it.
You're a pretty tough person, aren't you?
Must be.
She was very stubborn.
Not far from the presidential palace, in another of Colombo's colonial mansions, Kumaratunga's brother and sister voiced their fears about the president's safety.
Of course. And it could happen again and again. Yes. Definitely. That was one's first reaction. And it won't stop there necessarily. Why in Sri Lanka? I have always asked this question of myself. One of the answers I have come up with is 20 years of war. People get used to killing. Soldiers run away from the killing fields, but indulge in killing, assassinating, robbing, raping, that kind of thing. People have got used to seeing dead bodies all the time. Violence became something that people became kind of immune to.
And not all of the killing has been between Sinhalese and Tamils. This is a predominantly Buddhist nation, and tonight the faithful are celebrating the birth, death and enlightenment of Lord Buddha. But in the religious and ethnic patchwork that is Sri Lanka, violence has become endemic within as well as between communities. Kumaratunga's father and husband were both killed by fellow Sinhalese from the Buddhist south. The woman at the centre of it all concedes her country's in a mess.
The southern violence and the northern violence has either killed off some of the most talented people in this country or driven them out of the country.
That's a remarkable statement to make, isn't it? That the political talent of this country has been decimated through assassinations.
Not only political,
killings.
even managerial talent. A lot of them, a lot of public servants were killed in this violence.
Well, what has gone wrong, though? Has there been a sort of a moral decay, if you like, in this country?
Very serious moral decay. When the leaders, if you have if you have parents who are drunkards or drug addicts, what happens to children? Either they become drunkards or drug addicts, or they become psychologically lost causes. This happened to our country. We had leaders for 17 years in this country, 17 continuous years, who thought that violence, immorality, and the power of force could resolve every problem.
But of course, Madam President, your opponents say that you and your family can't escape blame. After all, you've been president for a considerable period of time. Your father was Prime Minister, your mother was Prime Minister. Does the Bandaranaike Kumaratunga dynasty accept some responsibility as well for the state of the nation today?
Well, we will have to, but certainly by default. Some of our governments have also contributed to the decay of the situation.
Constitutionally, Kumaratunga must step down as president by the end of next year. But few, including members of her own family, believe she's ready to depart the political stage. Does she like power?
Very few people don't. I think she loves it. Oh, absolutely. She thrives on it.
Because she told me, and I must say I was a little sceptical, that she hated power.
She probably believes that, or she probably wants to believe it. But Power is a kind of like a heady drug, isn't it? Place power in the hands of anybody, any type of power, and you just watch. No, I think she loves it.
She's a politician. She is one of the elitists, and she doesn't see down to the lower levels of things. It's almost like l'état c'est moi, you see? And what is good for me is good for the people. Basically, this is the way it comes across to us. And she interprets everything in the light of her own ability to succeed and the glory of her family, the Bandaranaike's.
Your daughter is reported as having said that as having beseeched you to get out of politics.
She
says
still
it's
is.
Destroying your soul and your spirit. Is she right?
She is.
That's a pretty heavy price to pay.
Very heavy price to pay for somebody who is, for whom morality, spirituality matters.
Will you continue to pay that price?
I will decide at the end of my presidency.
It sounds to me you have no intention of going anywhere.
We'll see.
Because, of course, some of your critics suggest that you're a Sri Lankan version of Eva Peron, that you're very interested indeed in power.
History will tell. You can see that for yourself very soon, whether I am or not.
Outside the grounds of the presidential palace, candles are lit and Buddhist prayers offered for a new beginning. But in Chandrika Kumaratunga's Sri Lanka, new beginnings always appear just out of reach.